I am looking today for my time with God at Corinthians. Um, just because you're unequally yoked is not a reason for a divorce. Like my husband and I were equally yoked as far as we were not believers. So then I got saved shortly after my firstborn son was born. Someone invited me to church. It was my husband's grandmother. And I'm like, church? Church? I'm not religious. Why would I go to church? And she's like, well, you might want to go to church to raise your son up in, the right religion. And I didn't really like the religious part, but I was like, part of me knew I wanted to do better for my son than I had. And I was like, yeah, I do want him to be, to have the best of the best is what I wanted. So I went to church and I walked. The first time she took me to church, which was totally foreign to me, except for when I was a little girl. I think it was Raymond, New Hampshire. My aunt was a Sunday school teacher. My great aunt Phyllis from Deerfield, New Hampshire, and she brought me to this church and my brother when we were little for a short time, and then my great uncle John had died, so family didn't see her anymore. But so I remember putting macaroni around Jesus's face in a pitcher with some glue, and I remember being bored to death in church and being hungry the time we got home. So then my mother was packing us a sandwich to ride home in the back of the station wagon. So I remember somebody had me fix my hands and asked me to take Jesus into my heart as a little girl. I do believe I was probably saved and did not know it, in a sense, but yet when I was an adult, I didn't really understand the gospel, so I believe that's when I truly got saved. I mean, I don't know if there was like a covering over me or if I just I didn't really know. But I do believe once for myself, for me, I got saved once I went to church and I heard the gospel and I understood, my eyes were open, and I believed in Jesus Christ. So that's when I think, probably for the most part, I, at least understood it and for myself chose, even if I was, I don't even want to say chose, but was called and responded. So I truly understood it then, and so I became a Christian when I heard the gospel that Jesus died for us. My lowest point in life, when the truth was coming out about my abortion. So I knew that God loved me, and that's what changed me. His love, that he loved me so much, he died for me on a cross. He died for my sins, totally on cloud nine. My family wondered what the heck was wrong with me, thought I was crazy, because I had such a joy now believing in Jesus. But as I lived with my husband, he was not a believer and I was. So Corinthians talks about if your husband is willing to live with you and he's not a believer, or the wife, how do you know they're not going to get saved? How do you know? So that would be the purpose of being unequally yoked, because usually one person does change another when they become a Christian. So for me, I mean, I just started doing a 180 in my life. I wanted to be the best wife ever. I wanted to be the best mother, and I had God, I had joy, and the whole testimony without even preaching to my husband, really, not really. He just saw me changing, and, I would talk about God a bit or what I learned. And then years later, he had cancer, and he asked Christ into his heart. And he was baptized with his sons, all baptized, except one, the last one who was baptized later. And I had been baptized on my own at First Baptist Church in Concord, New Hampshire. I was going to a church in Pennacook, but they didn't have a place to baptize people, so we went over there. And I was pregnant with my second born son when I was baptized. Didn't understand baptism completely, didn't really get it. I just knew I was a believer, and someone told me I should be baptized. So, yeah. So, you don't know. If you stay in a difficult marriage, there are many times a reward. So my husband, because of me, it's because of God, but God used me and he has eternal life.